Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Kirkpatrick Podcast. It is your girl, Vanessa, and we're going to continue on this conversation about how do we actually implement the Kirkpatrick model. And it's been this big overarching theme, and we have a time of recording. I love saying that. At time of recording, we are days away from the Kirkpatrick Summit. So if I sound tired or wired or loopy, or I just start laughing out of nowhere, it's because I'm on 3 hours of sleep, and I will sleep at some point in the future. But we just got a last minute registration in, which I love to see. And we ask, what are you most looking forward to getting out of the program and all of that? And what are you looking to achieve? And this person, and not just this person, a lot of people that are joining the summit, it's all about levels 3 and 4. And I think what's going to be so interesting, and I realize that I'm recording this before the summit happens, but it's going to go up after the summit happens. So I'll have some things to say afterwards, and we'll see. But I think people think that level 3 and 4 is so hard to do, like the actual act of measuring. And what they don't realize is that the most critical piece that you have to work on and fix is the organizational culture. The reason that organizations do not do level 3 and 4 is because they do not value the work that it takes to actually do evaluation and evaluate the right things. It's a culture issue. It's this assumption that one person goes through a program or one person does this or that, and they're supposed to be able to drive an entire organization. And when we think of what culture is your North Star. It's what anchors an entire organization. It guides decisions, it guides behaviors, and when everything feels uncertain, you look back at culture. The problem, is that what we're seeing in organizations, so this is according to Gartner research, is that 57% of HR leaders say managers don't enforce culture. And 53% say leaders don't feel accountable for living company values. And if some of your company values include, integrity, doing the right thing, innovation, and all of these things, then we've got to do level 3 and 4 because that's what we're going to find out, right? What's working, what's not. There is an integrity issue when we are not doing level 3 and 4 evaluation because we are creating programs we know are not going to work and we are wasting company resources, I know that's a little bit of a hard thing to say and to hear. And, trust me, I feel a little shaky saying that because I know that people have strong reactions to that. And look, I think, to be clear, I think that everyone, for the most part, everyone has integrity, right? And you're not doing that, not wasting company resources to just waste them. However, we need to be standing up and saying, this is not working. We've got to find a new way of doing it and trying to just move little by little to make a change in the right direction. But the culture has to be right in order to do that. Our culture is not, if it's shaky, if it's inconsistent, if it does not value doing level 3 and 4, there is not going to be a magic bullet that is going to get you to level 3 and 4 evaluation. Trust me, I've got the tools. I've got the technology. It still has to be implemented. There is no silver bullet that is ever going to come out and and change how we do evaluation, all of a sudden make it easy and all of a sudden make it perfect. And like, if we have not figured out these like from training to P&L ROI calculations, the fact is there's just not a way to one-to-one direct correlation do that. And we just have to start saying like, that is not possible. And I think our leaders actually do know that. But I think that we also operate from a lot of assumptions. Okay, I'm going off in a lot of different directions, but that is really the challenge to implementing levels 3 and 4. So if you're also struggling or you're wondering, how do I implement levels 3 and 4? I really want you to think about the culture in your organization and is it primed to do level 3 and 4 evaluation? So when we think about culture, it's not like, those like slogans or, like the core values on the wall, although I do love an office that like publicly displays them. And I think that's, nice to see. But that's not it. It's not things in the company handbook. It is what people do when no one's watching. It's the decisions that leaders are making when there's pressure. And when culture is strong, people feel and know that they can invest in themselves. They can invest in themselves in the organization. And we have the ability to say, we may uncover things that are not necessarily great, but I feel safe enough to know that I'm going to, we're going to change things. It's okay to uncover that something's not working. Not everything that we do is going to hit it out of the park. We are all going to have some failures. But when your culture is good, you have the ability to fail safely. And when it's weak, that's when level 3 and 4 evaluation don't happen. It's hard to get managers to come on board and support you. It's hard to get access to your employees. It's hard to get senior stakeholders to tell the rest of the organization, we need to support the learning function because what they're trying to do is help us to perform and to help us do better. And so really, it's not about, I don't know how to, survey or do interviews or do observations and gather that data to know whether or not behavior is changing. It's that I don't have the culture around me to do that work, right? Or when we say, right, for level 4, your indicators, these are things that the organization is tracking in other departments. And when culture is good, you can go to another department and say, hey, I need this data because we're going to be tracking it to know if our programs are performing better or are supporting, right? And yet when culture isn't good, that's when there's, why do you want this data? This is mine. This is ours. We don't share this. It's not public domain, although it's company data, so it's it's company public domain. So that is where we see the importance of culture. It's generally not a skill set issue. There's a culture issue. There's a mindset issue, which is why evaluation, especially at those higher levels, don't happen. Because when we think about the lower levels, right, like level 1 and level 2, we control that. We own that. We don't have to collaborate with others to get that data and that feedback. We can just work within our little group. And likely, you've got your culture is good and it allows for you to gather that data. You've built the processes and the procedures within your department to be able to gather that data. The organization as a whole has not built those processes and those procedures to gather that data. That is where level 3 and 4, like being able to do that, has to happen. So I think when we look at how can we, as a learning function, help change culture, I hate to tell you, but you can't. At least not alone. You know, culture has to be something that is a company-wide initiative. Doesn't mean everybody's going to be on board. Change management is hard. You're asking people to go against their comfort zone, to do things differently, to interact with others differently, and to go through, like when you do change work, you also know it's going to be like messy for a minute. And you have to be comfortable and like ready to sit in a little bit of a mess before you get to, if you listen to my other podcast episodes, before you get to the vacation, right? You're willing to sit at TSA. You're willing to sit, hopefully we're not sitting at TSA for a very long time. You're sitting at your gate with a really long delay, but you're willing to sit there because you know that when you get to the Maldives, it's going to be really, really, really pretty. And you're going to be relaxed and on the hammock and enjoying a water sport, perhaps. Or if you're like me, no sport, just lay. Maybe sleep. So that is what helps get people through change management, right? And culture shifts. But when we're asking, how do I do level 3 and 4, Vanessa? You're not going to get an answer out of me that is solely going to be, well, you need to do this, because it's an organizational effort. Levels 3 and 4 are organizational level metrics and buckets of data. And so the organization has to support you in gathering and owning that data, and having accountability towards it. And it's your culture that drives that. Because here's the other piece. You can build all the processes and procedures, even at the senior, at the executive level, right? Like write policy in place to own evaluation. That's going to be something we're all going to do. But if it's not actually like lived and seen, it's just a document and a process that people kind of look at and is like, oh, this is the initiative of the year. This is the insurance, and say like they're trying to like change things in the organization for the better, but we don't really have to do it. It's really a culture problem. So again, we've got to, it's like we've got to stop mixing tools and skills as the way to drive things forward, when really it has to be the culture of the organization that supports the tools and the skills being implemented. So I'm going to say that one more time because I felt like that was a pretty good one. It's not about the skills and the tools that drive forward change. The culture has to be right in order to do that. And culture work is hard. It's messy. It is not always rewarding. And you want to talk about like waiting to see the return on your investment and like the time that it takes. That's culture work. But you can't get to level 3 and 4 without doing it. You'll have some successes. I don't want to say it's impossible. And I also want to say this, not having the culture right is not an excuse for not doing levels 3 and 4. There are ways to do a little bit of something to start gathering some of that data and maybe piloting some small wins to then showcase to others, hey, when we actually all own data, we all do this together, these are the results that we have. You want to show them the story. Look, no one wants to be first to buy or try anything. And it's like in business, what they say, it's like once you make your first dollar, it all rolls from there. But the hardest dollar to make is your first one. And that's the same thing. I think we try to do so much and change and do all of these things. Just do what you can control and create the proof that you need to then take it from there. That's how you start to change culture. Especially for those of you that are in such large organizations that it's like moving like Mount Everest. It is about starting small. Like this is why pilots are a thing, right? We start small, we create the proof, we work out the kinks, and then we start to roll it out slowly from there. And then what you start to see is that it becomes like this wave that takes over the organization. And next thing you know, the culture has changed. It almost feels like it happened overnight, even though it takes some time and it takes a lot of effort. But it's never effort that's wasted. You learn, you grow, and when you're creating change for the better, it's only for good. So, if you are interested in learning more about how you can, help to change some of the culture and the tools and the skills that you need in order to do level 3 and 4 evaluation and start at the culture level, that is what we are here to support you with. Please reach out. We'd love to work with you to create these culture change movements and make your organization a culture of evaluation. Friends, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.